Hello and welcome back to another episode of Critical Reactions with your host, Bryan. We're going to continue on with this week's theme for Pride Month, exploring LGBTQ artists. Today we're going to be looking at the group Fin Killie. The track we're looking at is the Lamberton Lamplighter, which comes off of their 1995 album Houdini. Let's dive into this and see what Fin Killie is bringing to the table. Fin Killie. Yeah, I don't know if I mispronounced that the first time, but I did the second time. Fin Killie. Let's see what they're bringing to the table today.
I haven't really got much time for girls. Don't get me wrong now. Don't get me wrong now. It's just my nights are occupied with lighting these damn lamps.
Interesting phrasing on this. So we're in groups of 6, which could be counted as 2 groups of 3. But the guitar line makes it feel like we have a group of 4.
Composition by girls before on me lamp rounds. Oh yes, I have. But I'm at pains to explain it's not my line of trade. Buying flowers and chocolate mice. It's just the thought of commitment totally wild. Any sort of commitment out of order, isn't it? Had some girls come up to me, I've said it won't take that long.
So theme and variation, both of the big sections have had differing elements. This is the third time we've been on the quieter element, or the quieter section. We have this violin over here. Actually, that whole section was a little different.
I seem to have a lot more time for guys. Don't get me wrong now. Don't get me wrong now. It's just their wit and charm and conversation captures youth, and that's the truth. Oh, and use a time when cares traipse through. Some girls come up to me, who said it won't take that long. Just a quick one out the back, one for the lads. And I'm at pains to explain, I'm not that type of guy. And send the slack-jawed bitches on their way.
Well, that was interesting. Little punky, little noise rocky. I have a little bit better understanding of it now than I did in the middle of the track. And that's primarily because I was a little lost on the uh, structure of it. I thought I understood what was going on. We had a quiet section with vocals and then a loud section without, and I kind of assumed that that was more of a verse chorus structure. And then we had a different quiet section, and I think that was actually the chorus. And taking that into consideration, then the loud section is just going to be an interlude between vocal parts. And then we have the final 2 minutes of the song, which lack vocals entirely and just run with the riff. And I think that's what I want to focus on first is the riff. It's present everywhere, whether it is on a cleaner electric guitar, whether it's on the bass, whether it is on the distorted electric guitar. This riff is everywhere in this track. I think the chorus is the only place that it isn't displayed as prominently. But during the verse, during the interlude between verses, during the bridge, during the outro, it's everywhere. It takes up so much of this song, and I don't know, dude. It's gonna be one of those things where the repetition either makes it or breaks it for you. It's either gonna be so cool and you love the riff and you're just it's interesting to hear it in so many different facets. Because like I said, it does come across quieter, louder, bass, guitar, distorted electric, clean electric. It's passed around between a lot of different timbres. And so that might be enough to, make it interesting for you. But for me, it didn't. I didn't think that the riff was strong enough to support the weight of 5 minutes of music. But the riff is important. As I mentioned at the beginning, we're in 3/4 or 6/4 if you want to count it that way. I conducted it out for you. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. But the thing is that the core of the guitar riff doesn't feel like it's in groups of 3. It feels like it's in a group of 2, or sorry, a group of 4. And then it starts the next group of 4 and then just prematurely ends. Obviously 2 beats into that, since that would be 6 beats total. And then it starts over. I never quite felt like it was right. And this is interesting too, because usually when we have riffs that feel uneven or cut short, it's because they're not symmetrical. Often when we have 5-beat phrases, 7-beat phrases, 11, 13, 9 also, but 9 is just less common usually. But the thing is that they're not divisible symmetrically, because then it would be on half of a beat, and we just don't count that way. If it's 7 beats long, it's 3.5 beats would be the midpoint. Yeah, but you can't write like 3.5 beat bars. It's just not how music works. You can feel it out, but you can't really write that out. And so going into that odd numbering is usually what creates the feeling of missing or lurching or any of these elements that what you're anticipating from the music isn't what it gives you rhythmically. And I find it really interesting that they handle that with 6. They could easily group this into 2 groups of 3. We have heard a ton of 6-beat music, whether that's 6/4 or 6/8, that is smooth, it's groovy, it makes sense. It's just everything clicks together. And here they choose not to. I feel like you really have to work against the time signature in order to do this. I don't necessarily know what I want to read into that yet, because I don't really have a strong emotional connection to this song. But it was the first thing that stood out to me. We were 5 beats in, and I was like, hey, wait a second. Or I guess 6 beats in. So pretty much the first 5 seconds of the song, And I was immediately like locked on this. What's going on with this rhythm? This is, a little awkward. What time signature are we in? What kind of phrasing are we looking at? I honestly expected 7/8 to find that we were in 6/4 or 3/4. It kind of blew my mind a little bit. It's an unusual feeling for an even time signature. Paired with that, though, is the guitar. It gives us this light dun da 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 dun da da dun da 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 da. It's just kind of a light riff. I don't want to say that it's lacking any darkness to it or any depth or anything, but it's just kind of there. um I wish I had better words to describe this, because to me, a lot of the song is dependent on getting the feeling of this guitar riff. And I think a little bit comes into the feeling of the vocals as well. There's just something about it that's flippant is probably the wrong word, but it's in that same category. It's not necessarily apathetic, but it's kind of not caring either. Just like, whatever, dude. It's that. It's the 90s whatever vibe. That's what this feels like. And the vocal delivery, the guitar sound here at the beginning, and the awkward time signature, the awkward phrasing of it, all kind of bleeds into this. And it just feels like someone flipping their hair and being like, whatever, dude, just get over it. And I find that to be really interesting, because it's quite rare for me to describe music like that. Like body language, sure. Vocal inflection, yeah. Music, yeah. That's not usually a descriptor I have of that. And I think it's wildly interesting that they're giving me that impression. I can't wait to get into the lyrics to see what they might be going on with this. The era matches. This is from the 90s, but I'm curious if lyrically we enter those same themes. Now, speaking about the vocal inflection, it's something really interesting. It's a bit on the deeper, more resonant side. It is definitely not forward placed most of the time. I'd say it's about middle of the mouth. It still has a little bit of, that wider, more, like physical sound to it, rather than the forward projected sound that you would find in kind of a lot of rock of the day. The 90s rock was all about that forward placed delivery. And this kind of has that reserved, larger, more physical feeling, as if, placing the sound at the back of the throat. And it also has this air of, I don't know, superiority almost to it. It's a really interesting inflection to a lot of the words. I can't wait to hear what the words are. But it's not necessarily a holier than thou kind of delivery, but it is a little more superior. There is a feeling of, because here's the thing, right? When I think of like 90s rock, I think of like your everyday, uh, you know, uh, dude who just plays music with torn up jeans in their garage, and they're just like your everyday guy. You go to school with these people, and there's nothing special about the way that they speak. It's just average teenager lingo and delivery and stuff like that. Um, but with this, it feels more poetic. It feels more proper, as if there is an attempt to create something a bit uh, raised up above the norm. It's a very interesting sound to pair with the music, because this is from start to finish very rocky, very punky, particularly even when we get into the louder sections, which are just noise. Honestly, I mean, the riff is there, right? So it's not noise rock, although we do have noisy aspects, such as the violin that comes in on the side during the first chorus was that. And then we did have guitar feedback off on the right side towards the end of the song. But even when you look at the guitar tone during the louder sections, it's very compressed. It's very gritty. It isn't produced in a way to shave off the harsh edges. It's allowed to be raw. It's allowed to be sharp. It is kind of the opposite of what the vocal delivery feels to me. It is less pristine, less defined, and more raw and aggressive and sharp. It's a very interesting contrast to go between the two, and it was an abrasive shift the first time it happened. And as we continue to add on more noisier elements to it, the distinction between the two became more and more apparent. And I'm really curious what this is, is this just their style, right? Their vocalist just happens to sing like this. This is their, where they're comfortable singing. But they like to play noisy punk music. And it's just like, well, this is what we are, right? It's a very unique combination. Or is the division between the two lead elements purposeful? Because your ear is going to gravitate towards the vocals in the sections with vocals and to the guitar in the sections without. That's just what's most prominent in the mix. You're directed to hear the stark difference between these two. So, yeah, that stands out to me a lot. And I don't know, again, if it's purposeful or just how the band is. Is there anything else I wanted to bring up? Oh, yeah. Theme and variation. This song is pretty much one theme. We went over that. The guitar riff that's present everywhere. But what's interesting is that it's presented in different ways. Clean electric versus harsh electric. It's presented on the bass sometimes. But we also put variety around it too. Sometimes it's quiet, sometimes it's loud, sometimes there's a violin on the side, sometimes there's vocals, sometimes there's noise around it. Every time I feel like the first and second verse were different from each other. The first and second noisy sections were different from each other. Both of the choruses were different from each other. Even in the outro, the bridge into the instrumental outro, we heard a bit of variety in there too. And then we had the feedback on the guitar off on the right to wrap the song up. Even though we had been in this noisier rendition of the riff for a minute now, they were still finding ways to add new sounds to it. So I'm not a big fan of some of the variation in here. Noise is not a texture I'm typically enthusiastic about, but I have to give them credit where credit's due. It's very cool for them to say, hey, let's keep bringing this back, but with different things, with different ways, with different sounds. And it keeps the song pretty fresh, I'd say, throughout, even if it isn't necessarily my cup of tea. Let me dive into some lyrics on this one, and then we're going to wrap this one up. I'm kind of curious what the lamps and him being a lamplighter are supposed to represent. Everything else, I'd say, is pretty on the surface. The first two stanzas are about not having time for girls. He says that he gets courted by girls. He says that they come up to him and proposition him, and he always has to tell them, sorry, I don't have much time. I have these lamps to attend to, and they keep going out, and I've got to fix them and stuff like that. But he also goes a little bit into commitment at one time. He says the thought of commitment is totally wild. Any sort of commitment's out of order. He says it's not my line of trade buying flowers and chocolate mice. So at this point, I was like, okay, it's just a dude who likes his time, right? He likes his job. He doesn't want commitment. He wants that freedom of being, unshackled, to go with some boomer terminology, not having the old ball and chain. I should not perpetuate boomer terminology for relationships. Geez. But yeah, so he's not big on commitment. He's not big on the parts of the relationship of, chocolates and flowers and, all of that. The chorus comes in, and it's kind of the same thing. He says that girls come up and proposition him, and he explains he's not the type of guy, and he sends them on their way. Here's where the third verse, though, kicks in. He says, I do seem to have more time for guys. Don't get me wrong now. It's just that their wit and charm and conversation captures youth, and that's the truth. So this is interesting because to me it's set up that he wasn't interested in the complexities of a relationship, the commitment element, the little niceties that you do for someone else. But it seems in particular, he's just not interested in women in general. And so he does have time for guys. And I wonder then, because here too, right? He says, I don't have time for the flowers and, the chocolates. I don't understand that. But he says, I do have time for men's wit and charm and conversation. These are also niceties of a relationship. So I kind of curious about all of this. Does he feel like being with guys lacks commitment? Does he feel like there isn't any of the, little elements of a relationship with the guy? You don't have to buy them little gifts or anything like that. I don't know. But it is pretty clear that maybe he's bi, probably he's gay. And this is a very fun way to go about saying that. Basically bringing up for a majority of this track, yeah, I don't have time for the girls. And then like at the end, like, but the guys, yeah. I can get behind that. It's kind of playful. Maybe I'm just looking too far into it. Maybe this is just a fun little track. It does have me questioning some of the other elements in the track, though, about from the musical perspective, the noisy sections. What's up with that? If they were during the beginning when there was a schism between who he was talking to, they wanted something he didn't, the noise would have been really great at providing a sonic dissonance to this disconnect between the people. But that's not when it's used. So, yeah, I don't really get that. I don't see how the music getting noisier towards the end of the track lines up with anything that's being said here. And as far as the vocal delivery goes, yeah, there's a little bit of it in here, but I think it's just the way that he sings. I'd wager if we listen to a dozen other tracks from this group, we're going to hear that same schism between the grittiness of the music and the more elegant delivery of the vocals. So I don't know if I'm going to read into that at all for this one. But the noise still, I mean, that's just got to be a thing of the band, right? They're a noise punk band. So they write a song, they put noise punk to it. Yeah, I'm gonna chalk it up to that. These are my thoughts then on Long Fin Killie's The Lamberton Lamplighter. What's up with the lamplighting though? Is it just a fill-in for any job? Or is there something metaphorical about spreading light? Light is information or knowledge or something along those lines. That's supposed to, I don't know. Maybe again, I'm just reading into things. Let me know what you thought of this. Is there anything that stood out to you? Anything that you'd like to add on to what I said or correct me on? You have your own interpretation or opinion on this track, please let me know. Put those thoughts down into the comment section. Above that, in the description box, you'll find a link to Linktree. Takes you here. You can find links to my music, ways to support the channel, a link to the Discord server, and so much more. Above that, if you could, like, subscribe, and ring the bell. I greatly appreciate all three of those. That wraps it up for today. I'll be back tomorrow, though, 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 9 p.m. UTC as usual. Until next time, remember to be critical, not cynical, of the music you listen to, and have a fantastic morning, afternoon, or evening, whenever you choose to watch my videos.